going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's that time of the week again. My favorite time of the week, really. It's Creators Corner. And if you look over here into the box, you'll see someone that you probably know pretty well by now. He's joined me here on the channel for other things. He's all over all of our community of podcasters. He is the one, the only, and the very dapperly dressed man. I might say, Dave friggin' Rose. What's going on, my Canadian brethren? How you doing?
How you doing, Dead On Dave?
I am fantastical. I'm better now because, you know what, this is a long time coming. I've been wanting to get you on here for a while.
You have been?
Oh yeah, I've been going through everybody else. And you were kind of one of the first people I wanted to get on. It just, for time reasons or whatever, we haven't been able to get it done. But it's here now, and I'm very excited about it. So how you doing, man?
Not too bad, actually. I just wanted to add, it was, so much time coming for this that I decided to dress up nice and well and not disrespect my friend Dead On Dave, because this was something I was looking very forward to.
Yeah, you did, and you made me look like shit. I had to go get an overshirt and stuff. I'm like, oh my god, it made me look bad. I got to put on an overshirt. So
I'm sure by this point in time you've noticed that I do things a little bit differently than most people. So again, don't take offense.
No,
this is just the way I am. A little bit different.
Yeah, it's like knowing Roddy Piper. Every time you think you have all the answers, Dave Rose changes the questions, and there's nothing wrong with that. It keeps it interesting, keeps it fun, and it's always a pleasure to work with you, my friend. So let's jump right into it. I'm sure a lot of people... Oh, man, my dog is going crazy. Well, the dog I'm watching is going crazy. Hold on, let me pause this thing real quick. So let's go ahead and jump right into it, man. I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, because you kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, you came from the Shot from the Point crowd, and you started working with us and everything, and people didn't really know a lot about Dave Rose. And then coming on Creators Corner specifically, now we have to identify exactly what it is you do. Now, the one thing I didn't do in the introduction, which I was very absent-minded to do, you are the host of your own show, which is getting better every single week, something you started up called The Dark Show, about a month, 5 weeks ago, and it's been going pretty well. You've got your own little following going. You also use it as a way to help the rest of us, which we all really appreciate. Tell us a little bit. Let's start with The Dark Show. What exactly is The Dark Show?
Sort of change directions on the show, Dave, but I think it actually would be a little more important to explain to the audience themselves as to how I got involved with everything and how it became to the evolution for The Dark Show.
Well, we could do that, but I like it my way.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it your way. You can cut this out. Okay.
No, I want to keep it because it's so beautifully Dave Rose. I absolutely love it.
I think we just explained the evolution as to how the dark show ever came to be, in existence.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why I introduced you, how you started working with us, and then you did The Dark Show, and I was kind of thinking you were going to fill in the blanks there. But if you want to rewind a little bit, sure. You were a fan of Shot from the Point, and you started calling in, correct?
Actually, let's rewind even further.
Oh, my God.
Let's go back
This
to
is exactly
February.
what I was thinking this was going to be. All right, go ahead.
Cheers to you, brother.
No, to you.
All right. We are rewinding back to January 2014. Mm-hmm. I had started watching again wrestling after a little bit of a hiatus. I'd been watching for about 2 years, but I'd get to a point where I was getting really, really frustrated with the product. So after the pay-per-view in January 2014, and I really can't remember which one that was at the moment, and again, I'm not a mark for CM Punk, but I like him.
January was Royal Rumble, by the way.
There we go. Thank you. The Royal Rumble. I was pissed off with the way things went, and I started to look on the internet. I was actually so outraged that I started to look on the internet because I said to myself, I need to find somebody else that agrees with me as to my discontent with this product, because they've got so much potential and they've wasted it on this. So I started looking, and I found a few other names that I'm not going to mention because they really don't have any value, because the one that stood out to me was Joe Cronin. Now, I started watching his pay-per-view reviews, his Raw reviews, but the one that really stuck with me, the one that really convinced me to become involved with everyone that was associated with the show was monetize this. And people like Joe Cronin, Jesse J, Chris Dosovich, rest in peace.
Yeah, he's dead.
And Tommy C just got me so enthralled that I knew that there was other people that agreed with what I thought and also had some great life experience to share. And that's what really attracted me to monetize this. And it instantly, as soon as I found out about it, became more important to me than the Raw reviews, the pay-per-view reviews, or even watching the wrestling product altogether. To see these people come together, to share their opinion, to share their life experiences, to contrast their beliefs, I thought was incredible, unfiltered, and no holds barred. And, you know, rest in peace, Chris Dosovich.
He gets
passed,
resurrected every now and then, so it's okay.
which is great, but you got to watch out for the zombies.
Sure.
But the fact is that when it moved on to yourself, Dead on Dave coming on, it hit a different gear altogether. And I thought that things, you know, really came together well. But just to sort of go back slightly, I love this. I saw everything for about 6 to 8 months. I watched, I was just in the chat, you know, didn't involve myself too much. And then I saw an opportunity to maybe voice my opinion on certain shows. And I saw that Tommy C had his hockey show, and I love hockey, living here in Canada. And I extended an email to Tommy, let him know how I felt about what he was doing, my appreciation for his work, not only with Monetize This and the Raw review, but also with Shot from the Point. And what really, I think, got us going was the fact that I commented to him in an email about the fact that he actually has the national jersey of Canada on his wall.
Yes, he does.
And I asked him about that, and I said, you know, I don't mean to impose or anything. I'm just curious about this, but, you know, why do you have this jersey on your wall? And he explained to me that coming from Jersey, hockey was never really viewed as a big thing, but he and his friends were really attracted to it. They really admired the Canadian system, the Canadian players, as well as just American players that did a great job in their respective franchises. And he just said that was a form of respect, and that really touched touched me because absolutely, because it showed to me. Absolutely. Yeah, as a Canadian, you don't really expect an American to have the national jersey of your country on their wall and respect not only the sport, but the players and the country so much. So Tommy and I hit it off quite well. I think it was in end of August, early September, where I first started calling into the show. And there was a few shows, unfortunately, that didn't get to air that Tommy put into the ether. Yeah. But they were great shows, and I just got really excited about an opportunity just for me to be able to voice my opinion, whether people agreed with it or not. And yet, Tommy then, you know, extended the opportunity for me to be on his show, and I got more involved with Dave Vancura, for example, aka Dead on Dave, Jeff the Huff Huffman, Grand Slam 87, and even Jake Link. Yeah. So it was just great, and I thought it was very organic in that I'm not going to say it was destiny.
No, yeah, I had the order just a little bit mixed up. I thought you were a fan of Shot from the Point before, but that's totally fine. It was interesting how you came aboard, and you kind of struck a chord with a lot of people because you're a little bit more of a serious hockey guy than the rest of us, even more so than Tommy, and that's kind of saying something. You have some very interesting views when you speak about things, and you have a distinctive way of bringing yourself across, which I think a lot of people appreciate.
That's very diplomatic of you, Dave.
Well, you brought a lot of things to the table, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun to have you on because you love to get into it with me. Or at least you did. We haven't really gone at it very often, very much as of late, but I'm sure it's just a matter of time because 2 days is just too much sometimes, and it's completely. I
love intellectual debate. I love, even if I have to play devil's advocate on a topic I don't agree with. It's not that I like to argue. I like to stimulate my brain, and I think that's going to lead on when we go into the whole reason as to my involvement with the creation of graphics and stuff, but it's the stimulation of my brain that really gets me going. So monetize this, for example. All these different people, great experiences, sharing their opinions and sharing their lives really stimulates my brain. Hearing from your life experiences, Dave, again, stimulates me and really excites me because we've got all these great things that we can discuss.
Yeah. And that's kind of the cool thing about this community that we've all kind of created. Yourself, me, Tommy C., Joe Cronin, Jeff Huffman, Jesse, everybody. We all come from completely random-ass walks of life, which I guess is just humanity, really. And it's quite a beautiful thing because we all talk about different things in completely different manners, completely different ways of articulating ourselves, yet it all comes together in this really nice hodgepodge where we run the gamut of everything. We really do. And I don't think it's ever boring. Like it can get a little monotonous sometimes with some of us, but I don't think it ever gets boring because there's always something for somebody, and it's kind of a cool thing. When you came on board after all of the getting past the first early stages with Monetize This and calling into other different channels, what do you feel you brought to the group that might be missing from your point of view?
That's a great question, actually, Dave.
Don't sound so surprised.
No, not at all. You've got your copious amounts of notes.
Yeah, they're up in here today.
But what I actually think I felt that I brought to what I've been involved with, all the different shows, I would have to say is an analytical approach that is somewhat unrepentant and arrogant.
Yeah.
It works for some people, it doesn't work for others. But again, Dave Rose is a character that I've created so that I can involve myself in a way that I can be a little unfiltered and act in a way that I don't definitely normally do in real life. In fact, it's sort of like an actual wrestler where they might be the biggest teddy bear in the world, but because they have the option to act like the total opposite character of themselves, they take pleasure and pride in that because it's exactly what an actor takes pleasure in, being able to take on the character that they are not. So again, for me, Dave Rose is just a way of expressing myself in a different way than I might normally do.
Would you say that Dave Rose is, you use the word opposite, would you say it's a polar opposite of who you are, or is it an extension, a turned up volume of who you are on an everyday basis? How much percentage of Dave Rose is the real Dave?
Another great question. Here's the thing. It's not only an increase of the volume level to 20, but it's also an actual opposite. So there's certain stances and topics where I might say, well, there's already people on the show that have this view. Let's take the opposite view just to give that variety. Because again, it's not like I take personal offense at these things, but if I can provide something to the show, if I can provide a distinct view that might make people think or might make people say, okay, I'm making a decision on this, then I feel pleasure of that. So I have taken certain stances that are a total opposite of, polar opposite of what I believe, only just to add to the show. Okay. So it's a little mix of both.
So I think what you would say is that you bring an intellectual contention to the show that perhaps isn't always there. Because as some of our spouses tell us, we tend to, how does Leah put it, suck each other's cocks quite often.
And I've been blamed for the same thing as well. But
well, yes,
I
yes,
don't like the word.
You used to polish the knobs quite well.
Well, I'm sure that, again, that's a great point to bring up right now, because that is something that when I first came on, that was probably closer to who I actually am. Look back at the earlier episodes and you'll really see that I'm just a nice guy, I guess, unless you fuck with me, and then I'll skin you and sure, make you a carpet. But that's a different story. Yeah. I saw that there was a need for a little more aggression. I saw there was a little less need for dick sucking in quotations. And I saw, okay, well, maybe I can add to this. So I adjusted myself accordingly to try to make the show a little more attractive. Because the bottom line is, even if I was not involved, and I've said this several times to everyone involved, is even if I wasn't featured on the show, if my calls were not taken, what I'm doing is something I'd love to see. It's something, again, that adds to the show that me as a viewer, not as someone involved, as a viewer, would love to just enjoy. Yeah. So that's why I do what I do.
That's cool. And you are unabashedly I think I used the word correctly. Unabashedly Dave Rose. There's no question about that. You make no apologies for it, and I don't think anyone ever wants you to. It's something, like I said, it's a unique thing that I feel that we weren't missing. Tommy can get into it with anybody, but the way you get into it with people is a little bit different, and it's a nice thing to see. You guys, two completely opposite styles of contentious behavior between you and Tommy. It's very cool to see that contrast of arguing, how to do it from different levels of the spectrum. And really, we do that a lot on the show, where we argue with each other and we have fun and we try to bring points out. And sometimes we just bullshit with each other and bust balls or whatever. You seem to have a very good balance of all of those things combined. Where do you think that comes from? Where does that ability come from? Is it just you saying this is the opposite of who I am, or is there something that you've dealt with in life that has brought you to this way of looking at things?
Dude, you should be fucking working for CNN or somebody. You got some great questions. Okay, my manner of going about things is sort of a middle path, a way to sort of balance things out and to be open to discuss a topic that I might not agree with, but is the opposite of one that I do. And what I mean by that is that to be able to fully understand a situation, you have to be able to look at both sides.
Sure. Critical thinking.
So, exactly. So my idea is basically, sorry, what was the question?
Where do you think this ability to formulate these type of arguments, where does it come from? Is it just you being the opposite of your nature, or does it come from somewhere deeper, somewhere?
It comes from being me. It actually comes from Dave, the real Dave. Mm-hmm. Because the fact is, I'm a little bit, and this is again some of the similarities of the Dave Rose character. I'm a little bit off the cuff, mm-hmm. fiery, and shoot first, ask questions later.
Oh, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, especially
fair.
Sorry?
That's very fair. Yeah, I think that's a very fair assessment.
But what I would like to say is, especially the kids that might be listening, is that has caused me some issues in the past, and thusly has led me to some introspective views to figure out what is the best way to carry on. Mm-hmm. And the best way that I figured out is to take that middle path, be open to everyone's point of view, and even be able to argue that opposite point of view so that you can understand whether you truly or not agree with that. So I actually believe your question comes from the fact that this is a real thing from inside of me, just on how to deal with the world. So how to discuss a topic with somebody is to be open to discuss both sides of it. Sure. And to not put up a wall and say, well, I'm only of this view, like I'm a right-wing, something, or I'm a left-wing something. No, it's just say, well, there's this option, but there's also this. So let's discuss this as normal human beings. Sure. And figure out what is the best result.
Don't put Dave Rose in a box. I'm the same way. I hate being pigeonholed.
I live on the outside of the box.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I believe I'm the exact same type of way. Now, all of us on the show, we all do this for different reasons. We all have different needs from what we're getting from it. Some of us, we need the attention. Some of us need a distraction. What do you get from being on the shows? Nobody can say that anything in life is 100% selfless or selfish. We all get things from everyday interactions. What do you get from these interactions with everyone that you've met since joining the crew?
Well, I won't be dishonest, and I'll say that I get a little bit of, or a fair bit of ego stroking.
Sure.
Never a bad thing.
Never a bad thing.
But again, as I was speaking prior, just knowing as a viewer that my involvement, even if it's minimal, has added something to the show. Mm-hmm. The same to me, the same thing that I get, the same satisfaction that I get from opening the door for somebody that didn't ask for it. Mm-hmm. From helping an old lady load groceries into her car. I mean, nobody asked me for this. I see the opportunity, I offer it, and if they take it, I do it. I mean, I do selfless things. I know that word really doesn't mean much these days and is somewhat archaic and maybe as rare as a unicorn.
In some circles, yeah. But I think it's
take
appreciated
pleasure
here, yeah.
I take pleasure from helping other people, being selfless, and just doing what I think might benefit others and not asking for anything in return. The fact that people in the chat at Monetize This or Raw Review are like yelling for me to call into the show makes me happy.
Sure.
Like, I mean, I never asked for that. I just wanted to, add a little bit that might have made it something that I would enjoy as a viewer even more, not as an involvement, as somebody who's involved. And to hear these people not only ask me to call in, but demand that I create a show to address their desires to watch me, really, makes me happy and gives me pleasure in knowing that I'm giving back.
Sure. Sure. Absolutely. You've definitely garnered a following. There's no question about that. So much so that you did start your own show. And we'll talk about that in a moment. Before we get to the dark show, I want to talk about something that maybe not everybody knows. You, especially with me, you kind of started out your involvement with everybody with doing things behind the scenes as far as graphics and creating really cool designs. And in fact, basically my entire channel was started on the back of Dave Rose and his creative designs. I've since moved on because Isaac Rojas
upgraded. Upgraded. It's a perfect term. It's you don't have to.
That's the term I would use, but I would no disrespect to any of the things that you have created, because I still use some of the designs you've made because they're really very good. Just there's this young kid by the name of Isaac Rojas that started gunning for you, buddy, and he was like, "I'm taking over." You have obviously you have a gift, you have a talent for design. Is it just strictly things that you do online, or do you have an artistic background that you're not telling everybody about?
It's the latter. It's the latter. Now let's go a little more into detail.
Yes,
with
elaborate
that.
on that. Absolutely.
My mother, for example, is a qualified art teacher and studied art and did a lot of different things and stuff. My household is has always been very encouraging of intellectual stimulation, of artistic ability, of just having fun. So I considered to go into graphic artistry at one point, but there was other options available to me, so I kept it on the side and continued to do so. And like I was speaking several times in this interview, intellectual stimulation is something I find very important. So I would do this basically just for fun sometimes and just for helping other people out. I had friends, for example, that would sort of be in a email war. So they would ask me to actually put their sort of face on on the cover of a Life magazine or a Time magazine and have all these headlines that were sort of attacking their friend and stuff. So I had a lot of fun doing that as well. But it was one thing that I kept going and doing, but it wasn't really my full-time professional career. But because of my background and my involvement with art, and I've done a lot of different types of art. It was something that allowed me to just provide an option for people of Joe Cronin show family, for example, to utilize the graphics that I've made. For example, Tommy C, I made a graphic for him, which was for In the Crease, and I made that similar to the Hockey Net in Canada logo.
Yeah, that was
which
very
kind
cool
of fit.
one, by the way. That was awesome.
Thank you. And like you mentioned, I did a bunch of different graphics for you. And
all of my original graphics.
so it was you started off with sort of like a half joke. It was like, oh, I could use some graphics. Like, why not? And again, for me, it was just an opportunity to help out. I wasn't gonna gain anything from it. And I don't do this professionally for money. So Dave shouting me out is not going to benefit me financially. So, I just thought, well, let's help out Dave, give him the opportunity to do his shows. And God damn it, man, you've really blown everyone away. I mean, you're past 300 subscriptions. You're doing shows every day, and you're really building a huge following.
Yeah, I think I've kind of exceeded my own expectations with it, to be completely honest. It's been quite an interesting ride. It's been very cathartic for me. I've had a lot of fun with it, and it's an absolute blast. And honestly, this has become my favorite thing to do, is interview all you guys. Even though a lot of the interviews are with my friends and people that I've been working with and stuff, you guys are some of the most interesting people that I know. So
I'm sorry, Dave, but don't take away from the fact that you're giving me, your friend, a safe place to
that's
talk
right.
about what they believe.
That's right. I'm just all I'm simply doing, people, is give my friend a place to tell his story, a safe place to tell his story, and nothing more. Absolutely, that's right. I am fucking Colt Cabana. Ah. But
One of the few areas where we do agree.
yeah, well, not at first. Not at first. We had quite a sparring match on right here in my own comment section over the CM Punk issue, which was a lot of fun, by the way. Sometimes I think you and I think the other one is taking things a little more seriously than we probably are, and sometimes we'll go without talking because of it, and I don't think it's
Now
necessary.
that I've got to add comment to that. That actually is probably due to my sense of humor, and there's been several times where my sense of humor really hasn't been understood on the show and stuff, and I understand that. But I like a very dry, witty, British style, cheek and mouth type comedy. And some people, when I say my jokes, actually consider me to be serious. It's like Eminem when people say you want to rape women or kill people.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just part of the gig. Like, I'm just having fun here.
I think it's all in the delivery. I think it's all in the delivery.
Well, that's the
I
thing,
get
though.
things
A lot
you're
of British.
saying, but sometimes the way you deliver it doesn't always come across that way. But I
It's
totally understand what you're
deadpan, though.
saying. Yeah.
It's a deadpan type of delivery, and I love that. But the problem is that's very British, and I accept the fact that many people might not pick up on that. But Monty Python, Mr. Bean, they've got a really deadpan type of a delivery, and unfortunately for me, I kind of assume sometimes that people are aware of this sort of thing when they're not. So that falls on me.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. But at the same time, I've always appreciated that part of your repertoire because I'm a fan of those. I'm a student of those type of comedy. I love British humor. I grew up on Monty Python. I grew up on Mr. Bean and Kids in the Hall and all that stuff. It's just kind of those type of things is what I loved and always have, and it's just a lot of fun to get into, especially when I see it. I actually really do enjoy when some of your jokes fall flat because it gives me an appreciation. Because I'm like, okay, this is nobody else is really getting what he's trying to say. Should I come to his defense or should I let him splash around a little bit? It's fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. Getting back to the graphic design portion a little bit, is it safe to say that if in a perfect world, would you be doing graphic design? Is this a passion or is this more of just a hobby, something that you're doing to pass the time and something you grew up with? Or is it something that you've truly become passionate about?
It was a passion at one point, but I really don't like to be in front of the computer all the time. I like to be out in the outdoors in nature, and finding myself in front of the computer too often than not, I realized that it was just rather not worth it. For my health or as well as for my career. So it became more of a hobby and something that I could just help other people out with or just have fun with and stimulate myself intellectually.
Sure. Getting into your role on the Joe Cronin Show and monetize this, you have, like I've alluded to before, you've garnered quite a following, and it's with some of the off-the-cuff, very weird Canadian things you have said that because I think something that you've been able to gel with is the fact that Joe Cronin does a Bret Hart thing, and there's always that Canadian opening for you. I think it's safe to say most people who are watching this already know, but what do you think is your favorite catchphrase or saying that you've brought to the show so far?
Probably, I maced the bear, eh?
And exactly how did this come about, the bear macing? Because what was so funny for all of us is we were like, what the fuck did this guy just say? We're talking about like rioting, and then Dave Rose comes out of nowhere with, well, in Canada, we have a problem with bears. We just mace them. We're like, what the fuck is he talking about? Where did that come from? This was just one of those things. And now it's a T-shirt, by the way. I believe it's also on the same site I use for my merchandise, spreadshirt.com, because we're not above shilling here on Dead on Dave Productions. So go ahead and check out Devious Dave Rose's site as well as Dead on Dave at spreadshirt.com. Make sure you check that stuff out. We got all kinds of good stuff for you guys to put your money down on. But that back to the mace the bear thing. Where do you think that came from? What was that? What's the story behind the macing of bears?
Okay.
And have you
Well,
actually maced a bear?
no, unfortunately, I have not actually had a chance to mace a bear yet.
Unfortunately.
No, well,
Unfortunately.
bears can be a big problem here in Canada,
Sure.
and I'm of the opinion I'm a hunter, and I'm not. Unfortunately, Joe Cronin, for example, has sort of said some negative things about people that hunt,
Yeah.
and it's not like I'm going out and hunting a Siberian tiger that's
Right.
close to extinction. I like to hunt animals like squirrels, deer, moose, things that I can get food from. Again, the whole purpose of hunting, in my opinion, is to be self-sustaining.
Sure.
So, because of that, you have to also be trained in how to deal with bears. Because if you're, waiting for a deer, for example, to get into the good shot, and a bear stumbles upon you, you've got to be able to deal with that. So I've taken what's called the Bear Wise program here in Ontario. It's offered by the Ministry of Natural Resources. So they train you how to basically fire off a bear banger, as they call it, and this can be either from a
If
shotgun.
only this
or
was
from a
Joe
pistol.
Cronin. Bear banger would be a topic of subject. We would be talking about that for about the next 20 minutes. Bear
I
banger.
bet.
How wonderful.
I bet. Well, I'm sure that's also a term that maybe the gay community uses, which is perfectly fine.
Very, very true.
But
That's absolutely
we've got to
right.
remember that it's different here. Okay, we're talking about actual, the animals, not
Yes, absolutely.
the very big burly gay guys.
Yeah.
So, um, so bear bangers.
Bear banger.
We've also learned how to use body language and so forth, but the big component of that training was the bear mace. And the bear mace is something that you can buy in most outdoor stores and such. And although it might actually be about 1% of the strength that the police use against protesters, it is still something that is enough to basically stop a charging black bear.
Sure.
That's what we have here in Ontario. A grizzly, totally different issue. You better have a firearm on you because bear spray is basically sort of like salt and pepper on your meal. So it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, that type of mace for that bear is going to be like Banaka. It's
Yeah.
not going to get you very far. That's very true.
But that's where it came from, basically. It was just me talking about my experience in learning how to deal with bears and such, and knowing that this pepper spray is used with crowd control. That was why I mentioned it.
Now, when you said it, I don't feel there was an intention to be comical. Did you think this was going to be your aha bumper sticker type moment? Because it's really what you've become known for in a lot of ways, and we get Mace the Bear all the time in the comments section. How do you feel about that? How do you feel that the Dave Rose character has kind of been defined by I Mace Bears, eh?
I love it. I absolutely love it. And here's the thing. It basically was sort of like a comment that was off the cuff.
Very off the cuff,
I didn't mean anything by it. I wasn't trying to lead into jokes or anything. It was just really me being, I guess the real Dave as opposed to Dave Rose. It was just something I was just mentioning.
Sure.
And it came out, and I guess in a way that everyone picked up on. And I just love the fact that it built up so much support and interest that I even ended up making two different shirts that refer to it.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's pretty fun. And I think the same thing happened with me and the copious amounts of notes thing. It's just something that I wasn't intending that anyone would get into. It's just something that I thought was kind of kooky and cool to say.
I love it. I love the organic growth that brought out copious, because it just, apart from the fact that Joe is saying copious,
copious.
It just seemed to grow with the audience. And then you've got Isaac Rojas, who made this fucking awesome mug for you, and the T-shirt and stuff, and it just fits great, and it just is organic. I think it fits exactly with the whole Mesa Bear thing, because it just came out from a natural stance of yourself, a natural statement, and it just grew to something more.
Sure. I think what we need to do is we need to buy each other's shirt and start wearing them. That's what I think needs to happen, but that's just me. So. Okay, so now we've covered all of that stuff, getting into your involvement with the Joe Cronin Show, and now it's led to the point to where you decided to start your own show, The Dark Show. Did that come from just because people clamoring for it, or where did the need come from to create the Dark Show? And what exactly do you feel the Dark Show is?
Well, I just got inundated with people basically demanding that I do my own show, that I have something put together so that people can hear my opinion as well as interact with the audience that already existed with the Joe Cronin Show family. So it got to the point where I just said, fine, I'm going to do it. And I ended up starting the whole YouTube thing, and it actually, we're already into 6 episodes, although we did 7. The first episode got lost to the ether. Unfortunately, I was stupid and didn't set up Google Hangouts properly to record that episode. And
That's what you get for messing with Google Hangouts. That's where TV shows go to die, buddy. Why don't you bust out your Zunes, too? My
hashtag
God.
ghetto. That's what we consider the Dark Show, is that it's a no holds barred open forum for anybody that has either been involved with the Joe Cronin Show, or they just wants to speak their mind about wrestling, sports, society, anything. We don't have any limits. We don't have any sort of restrictions as to what we discuss. It's all crazy. It's all open. And again, we encourage people just to just become involved. And that whole thing came about because people were essentially not asking me, demanding that I make a show to address their desire to have something extra. And I thought to myself, well, let's make it as best as possible. Put it on a date where it's between, for example, Monetize This and Shot from a Point Live on Sunday. And again, try to keep the people involved, keep the discussions going, and keep that enthusiasm going. So that was really the whole purpose. It was for the fans. And I'm not a mark. I'm not an individual that requires fans or anything like that. If people like me, it's just fucking awesome. But I'm really doing it for others. I'm not really doing it for myself. I'm not making money from this. I do try to promote, my Spreadshirt website and so forth, and try to encourage people to buy that. But really, this is just for me to bring the attention that's available back onto Joe Cronin, to Tommy C, to Dave Vancura, to Grand Slam 87. Just to keep that interest going.
Sure. What would you say to the criticism that may be out there that the Dark Show is kind of a ripoff of Monetize This? And do you take that as a compliment?
Well, that's actually the first I've heard of that. Monetize This is unique on its own. The Dark Show is not even in the same league.
What do you think are the differences between the two?
Well, the fact that the Dark Show is used through Google Hangouts, I think, is just the end of the argument right there.
I think that is definitely a point of contention, no question. Absolutely.
Now, the fact is, I would absolutely love the opportunity to be able to run a show like Joe's and have XSplit and have all this great software available where I can provide a proper intro, music, screenshots, control of people calling in and stuff. But right now, unfortunately, I can't do that. But the whole criticism, I guess, that may have been made about about Dark Show being a clone of Monetize This is that, as they say, fuck, I fucked it up. Imitation is the best form of flattery.
Absolutely.
So really, what I was just really hoping of accomplishing is just giving people an opportunity to speak their mind. And I've done a little bit of structuring in the last little bit. We're going to be moving towards a direction where things are a little bit more structured. But the fact is, I've let people online that I didn't even know just come on and just talk. And we've had some great discussions, and again, we've had some great shows. So my intention really is just to give somebody the forum to speak, whether I agree with them or not.
How do you feel the format differs from other shows like Monetize This and other type of shock jock type of shows? And do you consider yourself in that same vein? Do you consider Dark Show to be in that same vein as a shock jock show? Or is it really, as you've been saying, just more of a hangout, a place for people to vent? And more importantly, where do you see the evolution of the Dark Show going in the future?
That's a good three-pointed question. Okay.
I wanted to hit you with a trident there, you know?
Okay. Remind me what the first one was.
I don't remember.
Okay.
The format. How would you describe the format to a non-viewer? Let's start there.
Okay. It's basically unscripted. There's no format. It's basically no holds barred. Now I've been trying to change that because I do, as a viewer, if I was, and this is how I always criticize what I do. If I was somebody that was not involved, that I was just an outsider, how would I view this and how would I like it improved? So there's been recent changes that I've been trying to do to the Dark Show to get it a little more structured. And get a little more focused. Currently, it's a total no holds barred crap show and stuff. But I am hoping to try to, I guess, focus it in a way, and the future would be to be a little more like Monetize This, where I'm using XSplit, where I've got the ability to take calls, where I've got the ability to show my face as well as a viewer's face, and a little comment or an image or something like that. I would very much like to see if I can just up my game and make it a little more enjoyable for the viewers.
Well, you really hit all three of the questions that I asked in that response. That was kind of cool. So
Can I just address one thing?
Please.
It's been mentioned to me by certain people who shall remain unnamed, is that some people believe that I have an interest or a love in filibustering. And that's not the case. Unfortunately, I just drone on sometimes.
An unintentional filibuster, we'll call it that.
Yeah, I'll accept that. I'll accept that. But it's not like I'm trying to take up a certain amount of time talking. And if I repeat myself, just understand that, I might not be as focused as I would like to be. But I definitely am not, one to try to garner the spotlight,
You're not holding the ball waiting out a shot clock. That's not.
I'm actually quite speaking about this. Let's go into a little bit of a different direction. Jesse J, for example, like you said, the glue that holds the team together.
Yeah, I think that's very fair.
He takes a background role, not very upfront, but he does get involved. But a lot of the time, it's in the background, and I don't have that level of pride where I need to be involved all the time, where I've got to be featured on the show. Yeah, sure, I love my fucking ego pat. Sure. But fact is that if I can provide for the show, make it better, and take a background position, I don't take offense. If I'm not a feature on the show, it's not a problem. Yeah. So like Jesse J, I very much like to add. I like to suggest ideas that might be of benefit to people. And we might see some of those ideas hopefully soon, maybe up to WrestleMania, come to fruition. I'm not going to reveal too much because the one and only Joe Cronin is the one that has the ability to do that. But nonetheless, I love to add ideas. I love to just basically be the idea man. Give ideas. If they don't work, figure something out that does. But that's I don't mind not being in the spotlight.
Sure. Where do you think Dave Rose, the character, goes from here? Your online ambitions, let's call it that for lack of a better term, where do you see this going? Where's the natural evolution from here go? Where do you want to see yourself?
I'd like to see a few more videos made by myself. I'm trying to get into the mode of creating more videos, updates like yourself, for example. Just something that will create a little bit of more buzz, keep people informed and involved as to what's going on, and again, just keep that interest going right back into the Joe Cronin Show family. So really, my intention with the whole Dave Rose character is really just to sustain the interest, to bring it right on back to those that really inspired me to do this in the first place.
Very interesting, very interesting. We're going to do another show somewhere down the line for reasons that we'll keep to ourselves for the moment about the more of a background of who you are. For those people wondering exactly why we're not talking about too much in the background, there's reasons for it. We'll get to that another day. But before we close this thing out, because I think that we've hit a nice natural stopping point, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Jake Link because it was oh so very much fun. before we go, what are your 5 favorite swear words? Go.
Spick, fuck, cunt, cocksucker.
Cocksucker. Okay.
That's 4.
That's 4. One more.
And tortillera. Tortillera.
Did you go Portuguese?
Nope, that's actual Argentine Spanish.
Oh, Argentine.
Which we may talk about in the future episode. But
Sure.
what does that mean?
Yeah, what
that
does that
literally means pie eater.
Pie. Well, you
So
know
you
The
can apply
Rock
that to-
loves pie. So that's a good thing. I find it funny that I think that if I ask that question to every single member of our community, there will be a racial slur in every single one, and cunt will be on every single one of those lists. I guarantee it. I find it interesting how we all run the gamut of different racial slurs. It's so much fun. This has been a lot of fun, Dave. I got to admit. I wasn't
thanks for the
exactly
opportunity.
sure what we were going to get. I was very interested in doing this because I was intrigued by the possibility. And I got to say, you stepped up, my friend. You look great. You sounded great. You did a great job. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's 11 o'clock at night. That's why I'm kind of cutting a little bit short. I think we could have gone a little bit longer, but I'm exhausted.
We'll save that for next time.
Absolutely. And there will be a next time. Dave Rose, you really have brought a lot to the team. I don't know if I've told you that enough. Everybody does appreciate every contribution that you've made. And to my channel especially, you will always hold a special place here. And you're always welcome to come on and talk about whatever you like because you've helped me out more than anybody else knows. So from me to you, I want to give you a very special and public thank you because I do appreciate it.
I appreciate that, Dave.
That's no problem, my friend. Dave Rose, the one and only. Make sure you're checking out the Dark Show every single Friday night at what time, Dave?
9 o'clock now.
9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
Eastern Standard Time.
Make sure you're checking that out. Is there anything else you'd like to plug? Get out there before we go.
Be sure to check me out on Spreadshirt. That's deviousdaverose.spreadshirt.com. I make 10 cents to $2 for certain shirts and items. So really, I'm not making much, but really all the money that I make from that goes back into the show that, again, tries to promote everyone else from the family.
Yeah. Here comes the money. That's right. Ching, ching. Here we go. Well, look, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for joining me, and we will catch you right here next week on Creator's Corner. Dave Rose, thank you, my friend. We're out of here.
My pleasure.